They had both said no. Not once, but repeatedly. Yet when the storm swallowed the last train out of Ridgewood and the small roadside, in ran out of rooms, refusal no longer mattered. Daniel Harper stood near the front desk, jaw tight, hat dripping rainwater onto the warped wooden floor. Across from him, Emily Carter folded her arms, trying not to show how deeply uncomfortable she felt. They were strangers bound only by bad timing, shared inconvenience, and a single available room with 2 narrow beds. The innkeeper's apology was hollow, the wind outside unforgiving. With no other choice, they agreed, just for one night. The room was small, dimly lit, and carried the scent of old wood and rain-soaked curtains. Silence filled the space as heavily as the storm outside. Daniel took the chair by the window, offering Emily the bed without question. That simple act unsettled her more than rudeness would have. They spoke little at first, only polite exchanges, guarded and distant. But as the hours passed and the storm raged on, the quiet began to crack. Emily stared at the ceiling, thoughts spiraling. Daniel watched the rain, haunted by a life he never spoke about. Eventually, words slipped through the silence. Not confessions, just truths. Emily spoke of dreams delayed by responsibility. Daniel admitted to regrets shaped by fear. They didn't interrupt each other. They didn't judge. In that shared stillness, something rare happened. They were seen. When the lantern flickered and the storm softened, neither of them realized that the walls they'd built for years had already begun to fall. If you believe one night can change everything, make sure you subscribe, because this story is only unfolding. Morning arrived quietly, as if the world itself didn't want to disturb what had formed in that room. The storm had passed, leaving behind a clean sky and unfamiliar calm. Daniel woke first, careful not to make a sound. Emily sat up moments later, surprised by how rested she felt. Nothing improper had happened. No promises were made, yet everything felt different. They shared a simple breakfast downstairs, no longer strangers, no longer guarded. Outside, the road waited. Their paths were meant to split, but neither moved. Daniel offered to walk Emily to the station. She accepted without hesitation. Along the way, they spoke freely now, laughter easing the weight they once carried. When the train finally arrived, the moment stretched longer than expected. Daniel removed his hat, a quiet sign of respect. Emily smiled, not out of politeness but certainty. They exchanged addresses, not knowing if they would ever be used, only knowing they mattered. Years later, Daniel would still remember that storm. Emily would remember the room with 2 beds and the silence that healed her. That single night hadn't created love, but it had changed the direction of 2 lives that were drifting without purpose. Sometimes it isn't time that changes people.